Welcome to this special bonus episode of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I'm your host, Kofi Outlaw, and I'm back with my co-host, Matt Aguilar, and producer Jim Viscardi in front of the camera. Because,
surprise!
Surprise. Speaking of surprise, we had to jump back in the studio one more time this week because a little something happened after we thought we were all ready for Friday and margaritas and whatnot. And it's because we finally, looks like we now have the casting news for who will be the next Batman. And it's probably going to be Robert Pattinson.
I love that way. It's like, we finally maybe.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's a little doubt. There's a little bit of there.
Still a little doubt. It's it's Batman casting. I mean, how long have we been kind of quagmired in this now? But it looks like
Ben Affleck first got
cast. Let's go through this. So yesterday it dropped, one trade dropped that it was Robert Pattinson.
Yep.
Who most people, we're going to get into this, but most people know from the Twilight franchise. Then another trade dropped that, no, it is not quite Robert Pattinson yet, but he is in final talks or in the final running alongside X-Men's Nicholas Hoult. And but it's all signs are kind of pointing to, and I guess the interwebs have already kind of decided that, it's going to be Robert Pattinson, right? Like,
if you're an exec right now and you're making, let's say spiffball that decision hasn't been made, that they're really debating between these two.
Well, it could.
This is the perfect test, right? Because you're like, okay, well, which one does the community come to?
But this stuff happens all the time.
Yeah, my tinfoil hat, and Jim has worked in the behind the tinfoil hat scene as a PR person, is that's what you would do. You drop
slip it
one
out there?
thing to one trade, and let the internet decide what's going on.
And surprisingly,
surprisingly, while the obvious reactions and the obvious criticism have been all these stupid Batman sparkle jokes about
I've seen those.
Robert Pattinson in the Twilight series. The reaction has been much better than we thought, especially for a major DC, the most major DC casting you could have.
But see, I feel like that's mainly because I don't feel like there is enough excitement around the idea of Robert Pattinson being Batman. I said in the office earlier, I go, this feels like they gave someone from the CW an upgrade. To me, I'm not truly excited for this. And this was my fear a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we should probably go through. So where does everybody stand? I don't know who I'm sitting next to, friend, foe, what's happening?
Well, let's start with you.
Okay. I'm down with it. I'm actually down with it. I think Robert Pattinson is a really good actor. I've seen a lot of the kind of crazier, smaller indie stuff he's done, and I think if anything, something like Twilight was the anomaly in his career, where he really kind of stepped out and tried that, so many young men have. I mean,
he was super young in those movies.
Yeah, exactly. And before Ben Affleck was winning Oscars,
right.
Oh yeah,
he was trying to be, Mr. Heartthrob leading man, and it didn't work out.
And even if you watch Twilight, he's got the brooding part down.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Jeez.
Yeah,
he can't do a stare in this movie.
He's just probably practicing. He's happy face, brooding face, happy face.
He's got that.
But so. I mean, I think it's kind of getting stretched out. I think we got to start setting some statute of limitations on how long we can slam Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart for being young, taking not even huge paychecks from Summit when they began, but getting huge paychecks and hanging in there. And
if you want to slam Twilight, slam the story of Twilight. Not necessarily the people who were hired to.
Yeah, because the lady who spawned that also inspired the lady who made 50 Shades of Grey. So let's keep an eye on the ball here. So I mean, I'm just over slamming the kid for it. He never really did anything bad off camera. He wasn't anything about it. It's just somehow a lot of people can't let go.
With him, I feel like it's not even necessarily just. Yes, you're gonna get the snarky people that are Twilight, whatever, right? Because it's become this youth thing that people just look at and love to throw tomatoes at. With him, though, him and Kristen Stewart became such a thing because of all the scandal that was outside of that, but involved with the director and all that stuff. That became its own little weird phenomenon.
Weren't they a real couple?
Yeah, they were a real couple.
They were a real couple. I mean, in the sense that people are always real couples when they're shooting 4 movies together.
They become your work family.
X amount of years, and they're both young actors, and they're both pretty serious actors in the midst of this crazy like franchise that the whole world's like,
Yeah, and I mean it's a huge
yeah.
hit. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm down for this. And I've actually been quite surprised at. Yes, you see the Fringe thing, but honestly, they react to any casting in the exact same way. And I just I've
low-hanging
seen
fruit
Yeah,
stuff.
I've seen a lot more in my feed though that are very like, hey, remember when Heath Ledger was cast? Remember
Yeah.
when Michael Keaton was cast? All these people that initially get a bunch of hate, and then it's like, hey, let's wait and see. I've seen a lot of that pleasantly.
Yeah,
In this
that
case,
is true.
And I'm interested to see what Matt Reeves will do.
Okay, so Jim Viscardi, tell us why you trolling.
It just feels like this movie is a like a Gotham spinoff. What it's starting to feel like.
What
for
do
me.
you-
But we don't
like,
know
where do you-
anything
I know we don't know,
about
but
the
like
movie.
I don't know.
Where are you
There's just
coming
something
from with that? Like where are you coming from with that?
There is just nothing that I feel that excites me. He may be great, but as far as just like my pre-finding out hype, I'm kind of just like, all right. Like I'm just not there. I just don't know.
We talked about this on one of the previous shows, though, that you're just in that funk of there have been so many Batman castings.
Yes. Whereas
Over the last few years, it's been in such limbo.
right.
I
But
feel
also, but we've seen Batman in a ton of other places. Like Batman to me doesn't necessarily feel special anymore. Like Batman, you only got Batman in the movies. Now you got Batman in a bunch of other places, and
You sound like the Star Wars
I
crowd.
kind of
Is that
hate
where
that
we
it
are
kind of
with this?
dilutes. It kind of dilutes the specialness.
I feel like, though, that might be the case now. But I feel like once we actually get this movie has been this weird, foggy thing in the distance for so
in the
long.
aether.
I think
Once we
also
get
for
it-
me, but I think also for me is there isn't a grand plan, I guess, for Batman, right? And
But
so like,
I'm okay
and I
with
know,
that.
and I know you don't like when we got the Dark Knight trilogy, like it felt like we knew we were going to get a trilogy.
But that's not right, and that's the thing I want to say. Like, I think we've all started to go off the cliff ever since The Dark Knight, and I think that's what changed things. Chris Nolan, when he was making those movies, like he did the studio movie just to do it.
Right.
He basically did it so that he could make The Dark Knight, like
Right.
so that he could prove himself, get some freedom, and then make The Dark Knight. And that was it for him. Like
Yeah.
it was a fight to kind of get him back to do a
do the thing.
trilogy.
Yeah.
And then ever since that decision, ever since the Dark Knight decision to make The Dark Knight Rises, we've been into this crazy thing where there has to be some kind of grand plan for Batman. And that's like literally where everything has started to just go wrong for Batman at the same time. It's just like
True, but
ever since The Dark Knight Rises, we did that, then we couldn't figure out what to do, like how to bring Batman. Do we continue the Nolan verse? Do we need to start something new? Then we get Ben Affleck eventually, and then we can't do anything like that because we're
still
trying to
love-
make a film that connects to like this grand plan. And it all
I don't
goes
necessarily
wrong.
think I
It's
need
just like, let's just go back
grand
to
plan.
like I'm happy about Joker. Like I just finished up saying, I've been pointed about saying that. Just make me like a good Batman movie, and let's just start slow again.
I don't mind starting slow, but I think that's at the same time, I could just be very guilty of this. Like we've been conditioned kind of as comic book movie fans, and it's probably maybe more of a Marvel problem than anything else, is that like, is Robert Pattinson a Batman you're going to want past one noirish kind of movie? Like, is there a universe, or is there ever a potential to see Robert Pattinson's Batman next to Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman?
And I think like
And that to me just feels.
And I think the thing that's good about DC films right now is they're stepping back from these questions.
Yep.
And it's just like we don't need to answer that. Like if Matt Reeves makes one crazy good Batman kind of noir actual detective movie, and then somebody comes along and wants to make another one, like I'm flexible enough to do that. Like, or Reeves makes another one about this Pattinson Batman, or like 1 or 2, 3, whatever.
I think I'm also concerned of the potential route that this movie may go in being too grounded, where I think I want a bit of bombast with my Batman, and I think I'm worried that we may not see that with Matt Reeves.
Look, I
what
want
about-
nothing like that rooftop opening scene of Justice League.
Is that what? So when you refer to bombast, is that what you're referring to? Like a scene like that?
I mean, kinda. I mean, not quite that, but I think a bit more just like. Look, I really liked Ben Affleck.
I did
as
too.
Batman.
I was
and I think part of it for me too is also not wanting to let that go, but I recognize that and I understand that. And it's not that I'm not going to give Robert Pattinson like a chance, but right now the news just doesn't do anything for me.
I mean,
I don't think any of those on the short list do that for me.
Let me ask you a question: If it works out in the way they approach this, we don't know any specifics are right. Do you think there's a possibility that they connect Pattinson's Batman as being basically Ben Affleck's Batman in his younger years because he had a whole career before anything in the DCEU actually started?
Yeah.
I almost hope they don't.
I hope they don't, but if
that muddles the waters, because then if people like him as Batman, you're right back in the thing. Well, what do we do? Because now there's this old Batman that we got to figure out how to make that work. Unless they do some Days of Future Past.
Well, no, but
stuff.
Like let's say DC inevitably gets
so
around.
Yeah, I can see your mind melting down.
Well,
right
here we go. I'm gonna make it so easy for you, right? Okay. So Wonder Woman practically timeless. Aquaman practically practically ageless, right? So all they have to do is do that stupid Flashpoint movie that they've been talking about, reset whatever weird timeline they need to do, and it's totally fine. But at the same time, at the end of the day, like I can't see Robert Pattinson in a Batman suit standing next to Gal Gadot, Aquaman, and whoever else they end up pulling together.
I can't right now, but we don't know what that looks like. So until I see it, I can't judge it. I can't
you're
judge
still
it.
seeing a boy, but what if he comes out and is a full Batman?
You guys,
like, what if he's a full Batman?
Kofi, you've seen obviously way more Robert Pattinson roles and stuff like that.
Oh, no, I mean that's a weird label.
Does he have the potential to bulk up, or are we going to get a goofy Shazam?
It's Hollywood. We have a doctor with all kinds of stuff that'll inject you and swell you up.
And these are the same things people said about Gal.
Yeah.
And that completely showed to not be true.
Yeah, but
she's amazing.
But we knew Gal. But like the thing is, like, the internet was going to internet. But we knew Gal.
Yeah. No, people did not.
I loved Gal.
I was in the thick of fighting for Gal Gadot when this was when the reality was not a lot of people were. I took on those battles. I went into those comment section trenches, man. Like, no, there wasn't a whole lot of love like for Gal Gadot at the beginning. No, there was not. But yeah, I mean, you could swell the kid up and make him, and as a young Bruce Wayne, he's not going to be like so jacked. This is not going to be Bruiser Batman.
Right.
This is going to be like sleek, young, kind of thin Batman, and like kind of starting out. But yeah, over time, I think you could. I mean, the kid grew up. I mean, we haven't seen. The thing is, like, I think people are just kind of stuck right now because we haven't really seen Robert Pattinson. Like a lot of people haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the later years that we're in now, like. So your mental image of him is still like thin, pale kid from Twilight, but like, yeah, dude's a man now. Like he's grown up. Like he can get swole up enough, and they'll probably throw a little funny little shirtless scene in there for you just to be like, yes, I can get a Batman body, and I think he can do the detective part, and I think if we're talking about a noir story,
can he be suave?
He doesn't need to be. If you're doing a noir story, like I think it's important to contextualize all this because it does affect like why you choose a particular actor.
Yep.
If you're doing a noir stories are about detectives that have like really major flaws. Mm-hmm. Like they're something happened. They're kind of crazy or they're alcoholics or something like that. So he's gonna be like a Batman, but probably still Batman dealing with like a lot of crazy stuff in his own head and like who knows what this movie's gonna be about. So. I don't think he needs to be suave Batman. I think a lot of it's going to be.
Well, I don't need him to be suave Batman. I need him to be suave Batman. Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I think he can pull that off. In the limited movies I've seen him in, where he's playing like businessmen.
Yeah, Cosmopolis.
He could do that. He can pull that off.
Yeah, that's a whole movie of him being Bruce Wayne, if you want to see what that looks like.
He can do that.
Yeah, so like
and they're not asking him to be James Bond. I mean, that's not the kind of Bruce Wayne we've had in any of these movies. So I have a question, going kind of back to your earlier one of, well, will they put it in the past? Could they just do one of those wink and a nod things, just make him Batman? Like, don't acknowledge it, that he's a different actor. Like, just make him Batman, put him in the movie and then they do that little wink to the camera type thing. Oh, we know, haha.
Oh, the old
And
Don Cheadle.
just let it be.
Do
they
Iron
do that?
Man too?
Like, and put him in Ben Affleck's costume?
Or yeah, just make him let him be Batman.
Or like,
He's been
or like
Batman
an
the whole time.
early version of that?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I tell you what I don't. I tell you what I don't
think
want to
anybody
see.
wants that.
I don't want to see the Waynes die again.
Dude, I'm so tired of that origin story. Let Uncle Ben rest and let the Waynes be
Just have a
dead.
scene of him walking a crime alley, putting down some roses, just hear some audible gunshots, and let's just keep going.
Homecoming did it
Like, let's
perfectly. Just bolt forward. Do one if you have to do a scene, Snyder, where you do the slow-mo bullets and all that crap. Like, do one scene.
To be fair,
and
out of
then let it be
all of
done.
them, out of all of them is probably my favorite one of them. But still,
Yeah.
Still, I've
I like
seen it.
Snyder's the best.
Everybody knows.
but that's what I mean, though, right? But like. I guess there's frustration on my end in that, like, okay, here we go. We're starting kind of from scratch again.
I mean, this could be Amazing
how long
Spider-Man.
are we?
Like,
that's
you know,
true.
it
But
could be.
like, how long is this go? Like, how long of this movie are they going to devote to setting up why Batman is a crazy detective in the way that he is? And I don't know.
But no
I am
Batman
so-
That's
He
like
has
less. That sounds
really
like less
done that.
faith in Matt Reeves than it does like Robert Pattinson. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have more faith.
I
in
am
Matt Reeves
I am
because-
generally unsettled about this movie kind of in general, and I know that's an unpopular opinion.
No, not necessarily. I don't think anybody has anything to be quite settled.
I mean, it's not like they've given us.
It's either like you're, yeah, exactly. Like we have nothing. It's basically a faith-based question right now. Like, are you more?
I was
Are you
more
more heavy
excited-
faith? Are you like heavy
Yeah.
devotion, or are you like more leaning towards the agnostic?
I was
side?
way more excited with the idea that Matt Reeves was going to do it with Ben Affleck than I am
Yes.
Matt Reeves.
So was
doing it
I.
with anyone
I
else.
was. I mean, my original excitement was Ben Affleck writing, directing, and
Yes,
starring
that was
in a
where I
Batman
was
movie.
on board.
Yep.
I thought that was going to be amazing. When Matt Reeves came on board, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, write it and star in it. It's a lot. It's
a lot to
a
do.
ton to do. Like,
And then it was nope.
yeah, just like, no, this is all slowly just sand in the palm of our hand, and it's just slipping through our fingers. Like, yeah. So, like, I mean, that was my original excitement. So, yeah, I mean, in a way, this all feels like the light version of the movie we wanted to see. But, I mean, our central question is, do we think this kid could pull it off? And I think, like, yes, I think, and I'll say this with the caveat
Ooh,
of
there we go. Yeah,
the caveat of that fact that in a particular story, in a particular way, and I've already said I think that it needs to be a story where they just kind of let's start slow again, just make one Batman story that's really good.
Do we think this is going to inevitably be an adaptation of something, or
Reeves has, in his comments, he's been very much kind of giving the impression he's not about that. Like, that's
Yeah.
not what he wants to do. He doesn't want to adapt The Killing Joke or adapt Dark Knight. He doesn't want to do any of that.
okay? But what about who you put opposite him? Like, if let's say the rumor,
villain?
like let's say the rumors of Josh Gad are true.
I almost want that to happen at this point, just to confirm it or not confirm it. It's been such a weird thing.
But that's the thing too, and I guess that's where a lot of weird uncertainty comes from. It's like, if you haven't seen a lot of Robert Pattinson stuff, like, well, what kind of person do you put up against him in this? Like, you go all the way back to Batman '89, right? Mm-hmm. Michael Keaton was still relatively unknown.
Well, he's a comedian. I mean, he was like in Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
Right,
Mr. Mom,
exactly. And so they put him opposite a powerhouse of Jack Nicholson. Right. And obviously the movie ended up being fantastic and Michael Keaton was great in it. But, from the premise in the get-go, here you have someone who's kind of an unknown playing someone opposite who, was a megastar. Is that a type of setup that they may need to do for this? Or is that not the case?
Well, now you just have more motivation than ever than go get Kristen Stewart and lock down that Gotham City Sirens with Catwoman. Then she also like factors into this Batman thing, and then you get that Twilight crowd back out.
Here's the thing. I hope that.
This is the thing, but I've seen a lot more Kristen Stewart stuff that if Kristen Stewart decided to pick up a superhero role or whatnot, I'm totally down for that.
But she's still going to get the same garbage that
Right,
he's
exactly.
getting. But I do think she's
Man, now I
shed
really
a lot
want-
more of that.
Now I
than-
really want
than
Kristen
his.
Stewart as Catwoman.
But
Yeah, exactly.
I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to
No,
give him
that's how
someone.
you're going to get that crowd. You're going to get the attention.
Well,
you're going to get that buzz.
but who would
and you're going to lock down a whole other potential, not only franchise but crossover franchise with
Right.
Gotham City Sirens and Birds of Prey.
But going back to sort of the original question, do we think they need to put someone big opposite him or get
Are
someone
you talking character-wise or actor-wise?
both?
Okay. Because what I don't want is Joker.
No,
I don't think
no, but I'm thinking like you get somebody on the level of like a Dominic Cooper, like somebody who's moderately famous and like been in like a bunch of stuff, but
It's not gonna
break your budget and is a good character actor and kind of his class, like of his time and place and class, and do something like that.
I don't like Dominic Cooper.
No, I don't.
But I get it. But I get that.
You know what I'm talking about?
I get what
It's
you're
not
talking
like-
about.
yeah.
I understand what you're talking about.
I think
that
you also
level.
don't just discard Nick Holt if he doesn't end up as Batman. Like there's something for him to do.
like Nick Holt either.
Is there someone in Hollywood you like?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, but I'm even thinking of potentially someone like not Woody Harrelson, but someone Woody Harrelson like.
no, but that's too. I think that's too
Not after
old.
Carnage.
Yeah, it's too old. Like it's too old and like just the wrong kind of energy type for like a Robert Pattinson.
I would really love to see what.
I think you
Reeves
need to
does
build
with
like a almost like a Rat Pack style ensemble of people like I'm saying, like Kristen Stewart's, Dominic
Yeah.
Cooper's. People have been in big genre stuff, but are actually at their core
Jesse Eisenberg.
like really good character actors. You know what I mean? So, I mean that's what I think you do, and I think you just lean in strength and numbers and stuff like that.
Make it just.
You know, do a Harry Potter throwback. Get like Emma Watson. Get Daniel Radcliffe. Get somebody like that. You know,
Yeah.
Cedric Diggory.
Man, I just got a Daniel Radcliffe as
Daniel
Penguin
Radcliffe, actually.
thing going in my head, and that.
Well, okay,
would
let's
be
see.
awesome.
Would you
Yeah.
put Daniel Radcliffe in that same Dominic Cooper class?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
With like an Oswald, like, and kind of taking something like they did in Gotham with it, and do a little like change it up, of
Yeah.
course. But oh man, I can.
Oh, yeah,
that
thick,
sounds
like-
awesome.
Yeah, thick, crazy English accent.
I'm sold.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe playing Penguin. I'm down for that. But like, yeah,
But here's the thing. Like, that idea gets me more excited for Robert Pattinson as Batman. And so I think maybe for me, whoever they decide to cast opposite him may actually get me more excited for him as Batman.
Okay. So
Okay.
we're sticking to my
Yeah.
theory that the closer we get and the more information we get of this movie,
Look,
Jim will get.
It
Yeah,
took
Jim would be, like,
20
number one
20
Batman.
minutes,
Yeah,
but
all
it
it
took
took
20
was-
minutes of therapy. I needed to work this all out.
all it
I
took.
needed to figure out what my issues were, and we figured it out together.
Fair enough.
all
Fair
right,
enough.
there you go. All right. So, anybody have any kind of other concluding thoughts about this?
No, now I'm a little bit more excited.
Okay. Well,
Team
we've
Edward.
accomplished. We accomplished.
Yeah, Team Edward.
I was going to say Team RPAT. I am Team RPAT. All right, so it sounds like what's going to do it for our bonus episode where we are just apparently working Jim through the therapy of Robert Pattinson, like going to be Batman. Hopefully his example will be helpful to many of you out there who may be stressing about this.
Yeah.
If you want to continue this discussion or just kind of show us like what you're thinking, we're always interested to hear. You can hit us up at the hashtag #ComicBookNation. If you like this bonus episode and you want to get involved with the rest of the show, we post new episodes on Comicbook.com every Wednesday, every Friday, where you can subscribe to the RSS feed for the show, or you can subscribe on your favorite platform. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Playlists, and Google Podcasts, or Google Play and Google Podcasts. And you can tell any Amazon Alexa device to play Comic Book Nation podcast, and it will fire us up for you. If you want to kind of contact any one of us individually, you can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
And at Jim Viscardi.
All right. We're going to get out of here, and hopefully the next time we talk to you guys, we'll have an official Batman locked out and maybe some more details about what is going on with this movie. Otherwise, we'll be here. See you next time. Comic Book Nation, we're out.
Peace.